Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Arizona Cardinals 2018 NFL Draft Class based on analytics. So in this video, we're going to go through all the picks that the Arizona Cardinals drafted, and we're going to look at them based on lots and lots and lots of data over the course of many draft classes to see where they stack up based on how prior players who were successful stacked up in the data. So if you're new to the channel and new to the work that I do, all terms and definitions will be in the description. And with all that stuff out of the way, let's get to the first pick of the draft for the Arizona Cardinals, which of course is Josh Rosen, quarterback out of UCLA. When you look at his single season best data points, 90.09 is his high school production score, his best high school production score, and 88.62 is his best FBS production score. When you look at the data here, he pretty much hits all the bottom end thresholds in terms of long-term starter and Pro Bowl potential when it comes to the quarterback position. And when you look at the career FBS score, so the bottom end career FBS production, pretty much hits above the All-Pro career threshold of 77.32. But when you look at the averages at the position, he looks closer to a Pro Bowl player than an All-Pro player when you look at the average sort of FBS career scores. I think in many ways when you look at Josh Rosen, you're looking at a guy that does have some fringe All-Pro potential, and he could end up becoming the best quarterback out of this entire draft class, you know, if you just think about it from just a collective data perspective. So he didn't test the best out of all the quarterbacks in this draft class, but he does have that chance to become the best quarterback in this draft class. But if he ends up becoming a little bit less, you know, being a guy that ends up being a Pro Bowl player versus a All-Pro player, then that's not too bad. But bottom line is, when it comes to Rosen, not a terrible profile at all. Definitely has Pro Bowl potential, you know, potential to be a top 10 to top 16 quarterback at the next level. I think you should be very excited about that if you are a Cardinals fan. Then, of course, we get to Christian Kirk, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. When you look at his production data, he had a 71.62 passing yards market share production score, which pretty much hits above the 3-time Pro Bowl bottom end threshold when it comes to that area. But when you look at the averages at the position, it looks closer to a starter than he does the All-Pro / Pro Bowl wide receiver. So essentially, he has pretty decent production, but not amazing production. And when you look at his athleticism traits, he had a 66.09 explosive lower body strength score, 84.91 speed score, and 47.81 flexibility score. In many ways, when you look at his athleticism testing, he just looks like a guy that has All-Pro / Pro Bowl potential when you look at his athleticism traits. So he's a guy that is kind of a fringe Pro Bowl player, but definitely has a very good shot to become a long-term starter and very good shot to become a successful player long-term. Then, of course, you get to Mason Cole, offensive center out of Michigan. When you look at his athleticism testing, he had a 22.42 explosive lower body strength score, 59.70 speed score, and a 50 flexibility score. When you look at the bottom end thresholds, he pretty much has majority Pro Bowl potential in terms of his athleticism traits, and at least starter potential in terms of his athleticism traits at the center position. When you look at the averages at the position, the only big thing that he kind of fails on is explosive lower body strength score. The average All-Pro score is about 53.27, Pro Bowl is about 57.14, and starter is about 64.19. So decent speed, decent flexibility, but doesn't quite have great explosiveness, but could end up becoming a long-term starter and does have at least fringe Pro Bowl potential when you look at his athleticism traits collectively. Then, of course, you get to Chase Edmonds, running back out of Fordham. When you look at his athleticism traits, he had a 52.90 explosive lower body strength score, 51.75 speed score, and 90.38 flexibility score. His production, unfortunately, was at kind of a lower level competition. And because of that, I don't really want to compare what an FCS running back did compared to FBS guys, and especially since the thresholds for the FBS data is based on FBS running backs. So I'm still building my database in terms of FCS running backs to kind of get a better model for that. But all we have to go on is his athleticism data. And when you look at Chase Edmonds, just as an athlete, he does have Pro Bowl and All-Pro potential as an athlete. So again, I think when it comes to Edmonds, you're looking at a guy that has the potential to be a pretty decent running back when you look at his athleticism traits. Very good balance overall, and definitely a good shot that he could become a really nice kind of complementary piece to David Johnson to kind of keep him healthy a little bit because he is someone who has, you know, had some injury issues, you know, in the past. Then, of course, you get to Christian Campbell, cornerback out of Penn State. When you look at his athleticism traits, he had production-wise, actually, he had a 43.76 solo tackle score and a 54.67 pass deflection score. Doesn't quite hit the all-pro threshold in solo tackle or pass deflection data. And when you look at his solo tackle and pass deflection data compared to the averages, definitely question marks there. When you look at the average solo tackle score for All-Pro and Pro Bowl player and the average pass deflection score for All-Pro and Pro Bowl player. But he does have very intriguing athleticism traits, 96.35 in terms of explosiveness, 35.87 in terms of speed, and 70.78 in terms of flexibility for his size. Looks more like a zone corner in many respects because of his lack of speed, but definitely could be a very intriguing guy. This is kind of a similar profile to like Richard Sherman, Josh Norman, those types of guys. So he could either become a long-term starting cornerback because of his freakish athleticism traits, or he could also end up becoming just a backup to rotational guy because his production just isn't that great. But overall, he is a guy that has good athleticism traits for his zone corner position, but definitely the production doesn't really match his athleticism traits to a certain extent, and even his own athleticism traits have a couple question marks there. Then, of course, you get to Corey Cunningham, offensive lineman out of Cincinnati. When you look at his two major athleticism traits, 99.60 in terms of explosiveness and 98.73 in terms of speed, pretty much hits all pro potential and Pro Bowl potential athleticism traits. Did not do the short shuttle and three cone, so it's kind of hard to determine that factor to him, how good his balance is for his size. But definitely not a bad profile overall. So I think in many ways you're looking at a guy that has the potential to become a long-term starting guard to long-term starting tackle with freakish athleticism traits. So when you look at the Arizona Cardinals draft class collectively, I think you have a quarterback of the future. You have a quarterback that has a chance to become a long-term starter, franchise quarterback. You have two skill position players that have a chance to be pretty good contributors and have very defined skill sets. Mason Cole has the potential to become a long-term starting interior offensive lineman. Christian Campbell has some potential to become a long-term starter to just rotational guy. It will just depend. And then, of course, Corey Cunningham has a good chance to become a long-term starter at guard or tackle. But the bottom line is, I don't think this is a terrible draft class. Not a ton of picks. There are a couple players here and there that there was probably a couple players that were better than them when it comes to data, when it comes to the round that they were drafted. But I do think there is a chance that there are some players in this draft class that could pan out long-term. And we'll ultimately see what happens. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you believe the Arizona Cardinals drafted that has a very good shot to become a long-term starter or better? And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification button so that you're always reminded when another video of mine drops. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.